a 94-year-old woman who deserved to die of natural causes peacefully in her bed. Before my mother was brutally robbed, burglarized, and murdered, she still had her health, her wit, her humor, her dignity, her grace, her determination, her stamina, her joyfulness, and her hobbies.
In Niles, Ohio, a peaceful town where neighbors greet each other with warm smiles, the unthinkable happened. On March 31, 2015, this close-knit community was shaken to its core by the brutal murder of 94-year-old Marie Belcastro, a crime so horrifying it defied comprehension. Today, we delve into the life of Marie Belcastro, the troubled history of her killer, and the aftermath of a tragedy that left an incredible mark on its quiet town. Let's take a closer look on what happened and the consequences of this senseless crime. Marie Belcastro was a pillar of her community. Born on September 9, 1920, Marie lived her entire life in Niles, a place she loved deeply. She was known for her kindness and laughter, her love for gardening, her positive outlook in life despite her advanced age, and her incredible skill in the kitchen. Friends and family often spoke of her famous homemade pasta and her generous heart. Marie was a devout member of Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church and lived independently in her Cherry Street home, a house her father built for 65 years. Even at the age of 94, Marie was full of life. She had some unique hobbies that she developed later in life. For example, she took up fly fishing at the age of 90 and continued to enjoy the activity, demonstrating her adventurous spirit and love for trying out new things. Her grandson, Brian Kirk, spoke about how Marie was loved by everyone who met her, with her quick humor and vibrant personality instantly making people fall in love with her. And her neighbors and friends, she was a treasure, someone who embodied resilience, grace, and community spirit. But across the alley, from Marie's home, lived Jacob LaRosa, a teenager whose life was marked by turmoil and misdirection. Born in 1999, Jacob grew up in the same community as Marie, but in vastly different circumstances. He had a troubled childhood, marred by instability, neglect, and brushes with the law. Jacob's record was extensive for his age. He had been involved in theft, vandalism, and substance abuse. By the time he was 15, his criminal behavior had escalated, and he had already spent time in juvenile detention centers. On the day of the murder, Jacob had been released from a juvenile facility just hours earlier, a decision that would prove catastrophic. March 31, 2015 began like any other day in Niles, but as the sun set, the unimaginable unfolded. At approximately 5 p.m., Jacob LaRosa entered Marie Belcastro's home through an unlocked door with the intent of robbing her, but escalated his actions to attempted rape and murder. Armed with a heavy flashlight, he launched a brutal attack on the defenseless 94-year-old woman. The details of the crime were horrifying. Marie suffered severe head injuries and was ultimately left for dead. After the attack, Jacob ransacked her home, stealing items to fuel his alcohol and drug habits. He then returned to his house, covered in blood. LaRosa, who was highly intoxicated at the time, showed no motive beyond a shocking desire to commit violence and cause harm. Unfortunately, Marie Belcastro was found dead in her home, viciously bitten. The crime scene was deeply disturbing. Marie had been assaulted, her body found twisted in a fetal position, and she had suffered severe injuries, including fractures to her skull and face. Authorities were called after Marie's daughter found her mother deceased in her home, and LaRosa was soon apprehended. He was found at his home, covered in blood, with no injuries that could explain it, and he had also been intoxicated with alcohol. The evidence against him was overwhelming, with Marie's blood found on his clothing, DNA evidence, witness statements, and his own confession. The legal proceedings against LaRosa were complex and lengthy. Initially charged in juvenile court, the case was later transferred to adult court due to the severity of the crime. In 2018, after several years of legal procedures, LaRosa pleaded no contest to multiple charges, including aggravated murder, aggravated robbery, and attempted rape. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, plus additional years for other charges.
County, Jacob LaRosa decided a trial was too much of a risk, so he entered a plea for the beating death of Marie Belcastro. First News Trumbull County reporter Nadine Grimley was in the courtroom. She has details now on this developing story.
Well, Dave, after spending all day yesterday trying to sit a jury in this case, Jacob LaRosa himself pleaded no contest to charges named in an amended indictment this morning. Now, Judge Wyatt McKay found LaRosa guilty of the charges, including aggravated murder, aggravated robbery, aggravated burglary, and attempted rape. The charges stem from the brutal attack on 94-year-old Marie Belcastro inside her Niles home back in March of 2015. Now, LaRosa was arrested shortly after the crime and has been held on $3 million bond at the Juvenile Detention Center ever since. But now that he's 18 and convicted of the crime, he'll be moved over to the Trumbull County Jail at some point very soon.
The courtroom was filled with emotional testimony from Marie's family and friends, who spoke of their immense loss. The judge called the crime straight out of a slasher film and noted that LaRosa showed no true remorse for his actions. However, in 2021, the Ohio legislature passed Senate Bill 256, which changed the sentencing guidelines for juveniles convicted of serious crimes, making them eligible for parole after 25 to 30 years. This change made LaRosa, who had been sentenced to life without possibility of parole, eligible for parole after 25 years, sparking outrage from Marie's family. Her grandson, Brian Kirk, was particularly vocal about the injustice of the law, calling it a miscarriage of justice that failed victims like his grandmother. Kirk, along with other family members, vowed to continue fighting to ensure LaRosa remains behind bars for as long as possible.
Brian Kirk's on a mission, trying to get a new law taken off the books.
It's just beyond comprehension how our state of Ohio could pass a bill like this.
Kirk is the grandson of 94-year-old murder victim Marie Belcastro, who was beaten, raped, and killed inside her Niles home in 2015. Jacob LaRosa was sent to prison for life in the case, but Senate Bill 256, which went into effect in April, retroactively makes the defendant eligible for parole in less than 20 years.
And I think it's a possibility, and even if it's 1%, it's infinitely more than it was before.
Kirk has been traveling around the state trying to build support for his repeal effort.
I would argue this creates a whole new class of victims in the state of Ohio, and you're punishing them retroactively.
Kirk's daughter was just 9 when her great-grandmother died and thinks lawmakers took away the closure her family had.
Honestly, I don't know how else to say that. It was just comfort was stolen. They're the thieves.
The passage of Senate Bill 256, which altered the possibility of parole for juveniles, angered the family and many others in the community. The law's retroactive effect meant that the hard work of prosecutors and the decision of the judge could potentially be undone, allowing a dangerous individual the chance for freedom. Prosecutors and family members argued that LaRosa's action showed he was a threat to society and should not be given a second chance. Considering the severity and cruelty of his crime, Marie's murder shattered the sense of safety in Niles.
Cherry Avenue in Niles is a much different place today than it was before 94-year-old Marie Belcastro was murdered and her neighbor, 15-year-old Jacob LaRosa, was implicated in brutally beating her inside her home.
You got to be very more careful.
Asa Cox says while Belcastro had a security system sign in her front yard, she tells us she never had it installed.
I would talk to her, wave at her and everything. She was just a nice person, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I wish she would have got that system put in.
At Belcastro's house, police tape is back up and a growing memorial sits outside. Kelly Jo Porter, who lives across the street, came out to light candles on this Good Friday. She tells me she used to keep her doors unlocked. But after this,
we're not going to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. We're scared now. And that's not how it's supposed to be in a little town.
For years, Cherry Street had been a symbol of quiet suburban life, where people left their doors unlocked and children played freely. After the crime, many residents expressed fear and disbelief that such violence could occur in their town. But amidst the tragedy, the community came together to honor Marie's memory. Vigils were held, and neighbors supported each other through shared grief. Her church played a vital role in providing solace and healing. Jacob LaRosa remains incarcerated, serving his life sentence in an Ohio correctional facility. For the Belcastro family, the pain of their loss endures, but they find comfort knowing that justice was served. Niles continues to remember Marie Belcastro, not as a victim, but as a woman who brought life and love to those around her. Her legacy lives on in the hearts of her family, friends, and community. This case is a reminder of the dangers that can come from unchecked violence and the challenges balancing justice for victims with the rights of offenders, especially juveniles. Marie's family continues to honor her memory by advocating for justice, hoping that their efforts will keep her killer behind bars and protect others from similar violence. The case highlights the ongoing debate over how to handle juvenile offenders and the need for victims' voices to be heard in these decisions. But how about you? What is your thought on handling juvenile offenders? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you or someone you know is struggling, reach out for help. Together, we can prevent senseless acts of violence and create a safer world for everyone. Thank you for joining me on this journey through another case. Remember, these stories we cover aren't just tales of mystery. They are real lives impacted by tragedy. If you found this case insightful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into true crime. Stay safe, stay aware, and remember, sometimes the darkest places can be closer than we think. Until next time.